In the Sunda Strait, between the islands of Java and Sumatra, there was an island that for centuries seemed like just another green dot, surrounded by warm waters and busy trade routes. Krakatoa. To the sailors who crossed that region daily, it was simply part of the landscape, silent, covered in dense vegetation, and seemingly harmless. But beneath that calm surface, colossal forces were slowly building, invisibly, like a natural bomb on the verge of exploding. Geologically, Krakatoa was positioned in one of the most unstable regions on Earth. There, the Indo-Australian plate subducts beneath the Eurasian plate, a process that generates intense seismic and volcanic activity. Over decades, magma accumulated deep below, increasing the internal pressure of the system. The island was made up of three main volcanic cones, Purbawatan, Danan, and Rakata, which together formed a highly sensitive volcanic complex. Even so, before 1883, there was no clear perception of imminent danger. The science of the time still did not fully understand the behavior of these natural giants. Everything began to change in May 1883. On the 20th, an explosion shattered the island's silence. A column of ash rose to about 10 kilometers high, visible from great distances. Ships navigating the strait reported unusual phenomena. The sky suddenly darkened, as if the day had been swallowed by an instant storm. Ash began to fall over the sea, covering the decks of vessels. The air grew heavy, filled with a strong smell of sulfur. Sounds similar to cannon fire echoed repeatedly, frightening both residents and sailors. In the days and weeks that followed, the signs intensified. Tremors became more frequent. Small eruptions continued to release ash and steam into the atmosphere. In some coastal regions, the sun appeared obscured by a persistent gray haze. The sea began to behave strangely, with irregular waves and sudden small surges. Some reports indicate that dead fish started appearing on the surface, possibly affected by gases released from the ocean floor. Even so, daily life continued. Most people did not understand what was happening, and worse, they could not imagine what was coming. Inside Krakatoa, the situation was far more dramatic than any external observer could perceive. The magma, extremely hot and under immense pressure, came into contact with seawater infiltrating underground fissures. This interaction created violent internal explosions, now known as phreatomagmatic eruptions. The water instantly vaporized upon contact with the superheated magma, expanding violently and fragmenting rock at incredible speed. Each explosion increased the instability of the system even further. It was a growing cycle of pressure and energy release, setting the stage for something far greater. Throughout June and July, activity continued irregularly. At times it seemed to subside, creating a false sense of security. At others it intensified abruptly, with denser ash columns and stronger explosions. Sailors' accounts describe a terrifying sight, an island enveloped in a constant dark cloud, cut by lightning that appeared within the ash itself. At night, a reddish glow could be seen emanating from within the island, as if the Earth's own core had been exposed. August arrived, bringing with it the imminent collapse. On August 26, 1883, around 1 p.m., Krakatoa entered an extremely violent phase of activity. Explosions began occurring in rapid succession, each stronger than the last. A massive ash column rose over 25 kilometers into the atmosphere. The sky turned completely dark in nearby regions, plunging entire cities into total darkness. Witnesses reported that even during the day, it was impossible to see one's own hand in front of the face. It was as if the world had been covered by an artificial night. The atmosphere became chaotic. Lightning began to form within the ash cloud, creating volcanic electrical storms. Incandescent rocks fell into the surrounding sea. Ships faced a relentless rain of debris and hot ash. The air became nearly unbreathable in some areas. The noise was constant, a deep roar, interrupted by explosions that made the ground tremble. Throughout the afternoon and night of the 26th, the activity did not stop. It was a clear warning that something catastrophic was about to happen. On the morning of August 27th, the world witnessed something unprecedented. Krakatoa released most of its accumulated energy in 4 gigantic explosions. The last of them, at 10:02 a.m., was the most powerful. The explosion was so intense that it is considered the loudest sound ever recorded in human history. The noise was heard nearly 5,000 kilometers away, reaching places such as Rodriguez Island. In Australia and Mauritius, the sound was described as cannon fire. The pressure wave was so extreme that it ruptured the eardrums of people dozens of kilometers from the epicenter. The shock wave generated by this explosion circled the planet multiple times and was recorded by atmospheric instruments for days. It was one of the first events in history to clearly demonstrate how a localized natural phenomenon could have measurable global atmospheric effects. The energy released was equivalent to hundreds of megatons of TNT, making this eruption one of the most powerful ever recorded. But the true horror came immediately afterward. The explosions caused much of the island to collapse into the ocean. This massive displacement generated colossal tsunamis. Waves reaching up to 40 meters in height surged toward the coasts of Java and Sumatra at devastating speeds. There was no time to react. Within minutes, entire cities were struck. The destruction was absolute. Villages vanished completely. Houses were ripped from the ground and swept away as if they were made of paper. People were carried off by the force of the waves with no chance of survival. Ships were thrown inland, some ending up kilometers from the shore. It is estimated that more than 36,000 people died, most of them victims of the tsunamis. Accounts from the time describe a haunting silence after the waves passed, broken only by screams and the sound of collapsing structures. After the immediate disaster, the impact continued to spread across the globe. The eruption ejected a colossal amount of ash, dust and gases into the atmosphere, reaching altitudes of up to 80 kilometers. This material spread worldwide, causing significant climatic effects. The sky took on reddish tones in many parts of the world, and intensely vivid sunsets were observed for months. The global average temperature dropped slightly due to the reduction of sunlight reaching the surface. In Europe and the United States, people reported unusual skies with almost surreal colors. These effects may have influenced artists of the time, such as Edvard Munch, in their depiction of dramatic skies. Geologically, Krakatoa ceased to exist as it had before. Approximately 70% of the island was destroyed, collapsing into a Vishal submerged caldera. The surrounding sea remained unstable for days, with heated water, steam, and the release of toxic gases. The landscape was completely transformed. What had once been a lush green island became a desolate scene marked by ash and destruction. The 1883 eruption also marked a turning point in the history of science. Thanks to the telegraph, information about the disaster spread rapidly around the world, making it one of the first global events to be followed in near real time. Scientists began to study more deeply phenomena such as atmospheric shock waves, particle dispersion, and global climatic impacts. Krakatoa became a fundamental case in the development of modern volcanology. Decades later, volcanic activity in the region continued. In 1927, a new volcano began to emerge from the ocean floor within the old caldera. This new volcano was named Anak Krakatau, meaning child of Krakatoa. Since then, it has remained active, growing slowly and continuously releasing energy, serving as a constant reminder that the story has not yet ended. The eruption of Krakatoa in 1883 was not just a natural disaster. It was an event that revealed in a brutal and definitive way the true power of the Earth. In a matter of hours, an entire island disappeared, tens of thousands of lives were lost, and the entire planet felt its effects. It was the kind of event that transcends generations, one that enters history not only as a catastrophe, but as a milestone, a moment when nature spoke louder than any civilization could ever imagine.